11:27 p.m. My phone lit the room like a siren. Text from Mom. Locks changed, you're out. No tears, no scream, just a cold, sinking quiet. I'm Ava Collins, the reliable one, the wallet with a heartbeat. In that moment, I understood. I wasn't a daughter. I was a balance due. I whispered, okay. Not because it was okay, because touching the pain would break me. Ever had your own family delete you with one line of text? If it were you, thrown out by your mother, would you knock, beg, or lawyer up? Here's the ugly part. Family helps family, they said, while their hands lived in my pockets. Another ping. Let's see how brave you are now. Brave, watch me. If this hits a nerve, tap like so it reaches someone who needs it. Tell me in the comments what's your next move and subscribe, because this isn't revenge, it's accountability. I'm Ava Collins, and if you grew up being called the strong one, you probably know what comes next. At 12, helping out was cute, holding the flashlight while Dad tightened bolts he over-tightened last month. At 14, it was ladders, gutters, and weekends that smelled like bleach and roof tar. You're tougher than any boy, he'd grin, as if that sentence were a trophy. Mom would add, family helps family, in that voice that could sandpaper your spine. The first time I said I needed to study instead, Dad laughed, homework won't fix a leaking pipe, kid. That line still lives in my head like a rusted nail. Look, I wasn't a martyr. I liked being useful. It made me visible in a house where affection arrived as chores. But there's a line between we pitch in and you are the labor force. No one told me the day I crossed it. They just started assuming I'd do the heavy lifting. Paint the fence? Sure. Replace shingles in July heat? I'll hydrate. Crawl space mold? Mac up, sweetheart. I became the default solution, the warranty plan, the muscle. And when I hesitated, the script was ready. Don't make us ask twice, Ava, we raised you. Then the money started trickling. No, leaking. We're short this month, honey. Can you front the electric? It sounded like borrowing a cup of sugar. Harmless, necessary, adult. I was 19 and proud of my little paycheck. Swiping my card felt like being a real member of the family team. By 22, it wasn't a trickle. It was a schedule. Internet bill at the first, water at the 8th. When the mortgage got temporarily tight, my name became a verb. Avas it. Translation, call her, she'll cover it. Just for now, Mom would say with a smile that never reached her eyes. I kept hearing promises like sticky notes. We'll square up soon. We'll make it right after tax season. You know we'd do the same for you. Would they? Spoiler, they would not. Meanwhile, my younger brother Noah floated on a separate current. Noah's gifted, Mom whispered like it was classified. He needs to focus on his art. The kid got a car with a red bow at 16 and a European summer to broaden his perspective. I got a pat on the back and a receipt. When I asked why I couldn't come along, just once, Mom's eyebrow did that little arch. We don't do quid pro quo in this family. Translation, your money doesn't buy you inclusion. There were micro cuts too small to protest, too many to ignore. My birthday dinner turned into, let's put this on your card, we'll Venmo you after, and after never came. My weekends became repair shifts. My work nights were side gigs, spreadsheet triage for Dad's hobby business, which somehow needed my tax software but not my name on any paperwork. The house, our house, was my second job. I learned to patch drywall better than the handyman because we didn't need outsiders. Outsiders cost money. Insiders cost silence. If you're watching this and your jaw's tightening, yeah, same. But here's the psychological trap. I felt powerful, needed. Every fix confirmed my identity, the reliable one. The wallet with a heartbeat, it's intoxicating until it's not. The day I bought a $30 thrift store armchair for my room, Dad walked past and muttered, "Must be nice to waste cash." The armchair I paid for, with the money I used to keep their lights on, was waste. The message was clear. My wants were luxuries, their wants were needs, and everything I provided was baseline. Hooks hurt more when they're dipped in love. Mom's favorite line meant, "We're a team, sweet girl," became code for "we'll steer, you row." When I started setting micro boundaries, I can't do the roof this weekend. My back's shot. I got the ice treatment. For days. Then the olive branch. We'll order pizza if you handle the gutters, family night. You ever barter your health for a slice? I did more than once. The first hard crack in the glass came when I found a pile of unopened envelopes on the counter. Insurance statements, property tax notices, bank mailers addressed to both my parents. I recognized the logo on a save-in summary. There were commas in the balance, commas. That night, Mom still asked me to spot the gas bill. Just a bridge, honey. I remember the taste of that moment. Metallic, like biting your tongue. I didn't say no, I just swallowed and paid it. Trauma has muscle memory. And then came the line that still makes my scalp prickle. Dad, rummaging for a flashlight I'd bought with my own money, announced, "Ava's not family. Ava's infrastructure." He said it like a joke. They laughed. I laughed too, with my mouth, not my eyes. If that sentence burned you, hit like, somebody needs to see they're not the only infrastructure in a house that calls itself loving. By the time I realized the pattern, it had its own gravity. I was the orbiting moon, lighting their nights, creating tides, never once being the shore. "You're ungrateful," Mom would hiss if I flinched. "After everything we've done for you." What did they do exactly? Raised me into a system where love was a ledger I never got to read. If this is starting to feel familiar, drop a comment. Where did your red flag start? And share this with the friend who keeps paying bills they didn't run up. Sometimes naming the pattern is the first pry bar you need. The night the blinders finally fell wasn't cinematic. No lightning, no swelling music, just leftovers. A late return from work and voices in the kitchen that stopped me in the hall. I wasn't snooping. I was walking to my room when I heard my name clear, clipped. "Ava doesn't realize all her help was voluntary," Mom said, like she was explaining an algebra problem. Dad chuckled. "Classic Ava, all heart, no paperwork." The floor shifted. Voluntary, paperwork. Words that don't belong in the same sentence as family. I stood in that shadowy hallway and felt two selves split inside me. The daughter who wanted to cry and the accountant who wanted to document. The accountant won. I kept listening. Noah asked, soft, careful, and, "But won't she expect something?" Mom's spoon clinked the rim of the mug. "Expect what? Gifts don't buy ownership." Gifts. There it was, the rebrand of my labor and money. Gifts, like candles and tea towels. I walked to my room without a sound, shut the door gently, and opened my laptop. My hands were shaking, but the cursor was steady. New spreadsheet. Tabs, mortgage, utilities, repairs, emergency transfers, labor. I typed like it could save my life. In a way, it could. The first number hurt. $600, my first bridge payment for the mortgage, age 20. The column filled itself over years, $7,000 total on the mortgage line. Utilities, $15,000. Repairs, $2,000 in materials alone, not counting my weekends sweating in a respirator. Emergency transfers, a tidy, and ugly patterns of Sunday night withdrawals labeled temp. I started pulling screenshots, saving PDFs, combing bank portals like a detective who already knew the culprit. Shock didn't fade, it calcified. I replayed every "we'll make it right" text, every "you're the only one we can trust" call. There were emojis, smiley faces. The absurdity made me lightheaded. I made folders by year, subfolders by expense type. I flagged messages where they promised repayment once we sell. That phrase was a fluorescent highlighter. Once we sell. Sell what? The house. The one they'd just admitted I had no stake in. That's when the second project started, legal research. If you've never Googled equitable interest contributions not on deed, welcome to the rabbit hole. It's paved with case law and cold comfort. I booked consultations with 3 attorneys, quietly on my lunch hours in my car with the AC blasting to dry furious tears. The first 2 were cautious. A hard case, not impossible. The third, a woman who listened without blinking, said, "You have a shot if your records are airtight." Airtight. I could do airtight. I lived in airtight. I audited my own life with the cruelty of an IRS agent. Cross-referenced dates, matched Home Depot receipts to the exact weekend I climbed the ladder. I pulled metadata on photos showing me repairing rotten trim. You want to know bleak humor? Realizing your selfies with paint-streaked hands are time-stamped affidavits. Then came the text that turned my stomach into ice. Locks changed, you're out, from Mom. If your chest just caved, same. It was cruel, it was theatrical. It was also, my lawyer's words, indisputable evidence of malicious intent. I saved the screenshot in 5 places, printed it twice, wrote the date in ink. The shock turned to strategy. I stopped confronting, stopped explaining, stopped trying to make them see me. Narcissists don't negotiate, they escalate. I would not be their emotional punching bag, and their ate, and I gathered proof that their hardship was performative. Subpoenaed bank records, yes, that's possible once you file. Found savings balances healthy enough to buy a used boat. Actually, strike that, not used. I discovered a purchase memo. Lake day soon. On a transfer I'd covered with my temporary mortgage payment. My braces clenched so hard I gave myself a headache. The whispers in the house got stranger. They'd pause when I entered, then paste on smiles. Hey, honey. Honey, like sugar on a knife. I started sleeping with my bedroom chair under the doorknob. Not because I feared violence, because the betrayal felt like oxygen had gone thin. I was dizzy from pretending, so I stopped. I became polite, distant, the model tenant of a life I was about to leave. Can you cover the plumber? I can't. Silence. Since when? Since now. If you're still with me, hit like so this lands for someone who needs the nudge to start documenting. Comment if you've ever turned pain into a spreadsheet. You're not cold, you're smart. Share this with the friend who keeps loaning cash to people who call it love. It's not love if it requires a receipt and silence. And final prep, I wrote a timeline, clean enough to hand a judge, bullet points, dates, exact amounts. I practiced saying numbers without flinching. I printed a binder so thick it thunked on the table. I named it House Equity Claim. Not vengeance, not drama, claim. The night before I met my attorney to file, I lay awake and listened to the house settle, wood creaking, AC humming. I realized I knew this building sounds better than I knew the sound of my own boundaries. That was about to change. And because fate is a petty director, the last message I got before filing was from Mom. Let's see how brave you are now. Brave? Watch me. When I say we filed, I mean at 7:15 a.m., coffee in one hand, evidence in the other, voice steady enough to surprise me. My attorney, call her Harper, answered on the second ring. It's time. There's a clarity that arrives when you stop begging for decency and start invoking rights. It doesn't heal you, but it holds you upright. Within 48 hours, their lawyer called my phone like the house was on fire. Miss Collins, we need to discuss immediately. Translation, the cage had a crack. Mediation was a fluorescent lit terrarium where everyone's tells get magnified. Long table, legal pads, cold water bottles no one drank. They came in like a weather system. Dad, red-faced swagger, Mom, brittle poise, Noah hovering in soft confusion that made me sad and furious at once. I didn't look at them, I looked at the folder. When Harper slid it to the center, it made a sound like a gavel. Inside had years of my life, decimal by decimal. Dad opened the binder and flipped like he could outrun what was printed. This is ridiculous, he snapped, voice doing that fake bass thing bullies use when the ground shifts. Gifts, family gifts. Harper didn't blink. Solicited contributions during alleged hardship, she said, tone so even it felt like a metronome. And evidence of deceit regarding their financial position. She laid out the bank statements, their bank statements, showing comfortable balances while I covered emergencies. Mom inhaled like the air cut. Noah's eyes flicked, calculating, realizing the Euro summer he loved had fingerprints. Then Harper placed the screenshot down like a trump card. Locks changed, you're out. The room went silent, and that way you can hear your pulse. This shows intent to deprive our client of the benefit of her contributions, Harper said, as well as coercive control. The mediator glanced at the text, then at my parents, then scribbled like he'd just remembered he was being paid. There were attempts at theatrics. Mom whispered, "We're family, Ava," the way a spider might say, "We share a web." Dad rolled out the vintage lines. After all we sacrificed. And I said evenly, itemize it. Shocked looks. I wasn't cruel. I was precise. I brought figures, you bring yours. If that sentence made you breathe easier, hit like. Precision is how you walk out alive. We asked for 50% ownership based on financial contribution, labor, and reliance on their promises. Outrageous, Dad barked. Extortion. Harper slid over contractor bids estimating the labor I performed. Numbers don't blush. The mediator asked for a break. Their lawyer asked for a hall huddle. I asked for nothing. I just sat, palms flat, reminding my nervous system it had a body to live in. 6 weeks later in court, a judge who did not care about family lore read the record. The law doesn't tuck you in at night, but it does something cleaner. It measures. The order landed. I was recognized as a 50% owner, not out of pity, out of math and precedent. If you felt that like a door unlocking somewhere under your ribs, share this with a friend who needs proof that boundaries can have teeth. I didn't move back. The house was a haunted museum of labor I gave and love I didn't get. They'd changed the locks. I changed the story. As a co-owner, I filed for partition. Plain English, sell the house because we will not be roommates. They sputtered, threatened to drag it out, and then watched the market do what markets do. We sold 600 days. The number made Dad blink slow. It made Mom whisper, unfair to no one. Half was mine before fees and taxes. Half was theirs, minus what they paid to a law firm to learn that daughters are not infrastructure. Here's the part people don't say out loud. Winning doesn't feel like confetti. It feels like exhaling for the first time in a decade and noticing your hands aren't shaking. I bought a small townhouse across the river with a light that moves across the floor like it's on my side. My keys jingle with a sound I didn't know I missed. I replaced fear with deadbolts I chose. I made coffee the first morning and cried anyway, not because I was sad, but because my body finally believed me. The fallout arrived on schedule. Emails from Dad, ungrateful, voicemails from Mom. You'll regret this when we're gone. Texts from Noah. Can't we be a family again? I blocked, not because I hate them, but because I love my peace more than their chaos. You're so cold, someone wrote once. No, I'm room temperature for the first time. There's one more shock line I'll leave you with, because it stitched the last wound closed. At the closing table, Mom muttered, not quite under her breath, you were supposed to be the one who stayed useful. It was meant to slice. It set me free. I wasn't born to be useful. I was born to be equal. If this made you mad in the good way, tap like so, the algorithm takes it to someone still paying for family. Comment your turning point. What evidence finally made you act? Share this with a friend who needs a script for saying itemize it, says it. And subscribe if you want more than revenge stories, if you want roadmaps, because accountability isn't loud. It's a signed order, a wire transfer, and a quiet morning where the only lock that matters is the one you own. Here's where it lands. I didn't kick down a door or torch a bridge. I signed papers. I told the truth with dates and decimals. And now I drink coffee in a place where every lock, every light switch, every quiet morning is mine. That should feel simple, right? It doesn't. There's relief, there's grief. Some nights I still hear the old house breathing, yet like it's asking me to come fix one more thing. My hands twitch. My heart says no. People ask if I feel guilty. Here's the honest answer. I felt guilty for years. For spending $30 on a secondhand chair, for saying no to a roof in July, for wanting a weekend that didn't smell like bleach and wet wood. Guilt was their currency. I was the 810 when I stopped dispensing, the alarms went off. Was I cruel, or did I finally turn off a system that was starving me? So, am I in the wrong? I've sat with that. Therapy, long walks, journals full of ugly sentences. The lesson that stuck, love without boundaries is self-erasure. Family helps family becomes a weapon when help only flows one way. Documentation is not cold, it's clarity. Saying itemize it isn't petty, it's protection. And home is not permission someone can revoke. It's the values you defend when nobody claps. If you're standing where I stood, shaking, screenshotting, Wondering if you're the villain because you asked for fairness? Breathe. Ask your body what it knows, says. Start a folder. Name your lines out loud. You're not broken for wanting balance. You're not heartless for choosing peace over performance. You're not infrastructure. You are a person. I won't pretend this is a happy ever after. It's a calm ever after. Different kind of victory. Quiet, measured. The kind you feel when you lock your own door and your shoulders finally drop. If this hit a nerve, tap like so someone who needs it actually sees it. Drop a comment. What would you have done differently? And where would you draw the line? If a friend is stuck paying for family, share this with them as a blueprint, not a battle cry. And subscribe if you want more than rage. If you want roadmaps, scripts, receipts, not revenge, accountability, and a life you don't need permission to live.